Welcome to your personalized deep dive. We've got a fascinating book to unpack today, one that you specifically requested.
Oh, cool.
It's called Cómo hacer que te pasen cosas buenas, or in English, How to Make Good Things Happen, by psychiatrist Marian Rojas Estapé.
Awesome.
And you mentioned wanting actionable insights on happiness and resilience,
Hmm.
especially those rooted in science.
Yeah, for sure.
That's precisely what we'll be exploring today.
Sounds good.
Right off the bat, Dr. Rojas Estapé lays out this idea of a happiness equation.
Okay.
She's not talking about some magical formula, but a framework based on decades of research.
Interesting.
One of the cornerstones of this framework is the Harvard Study of Adult Development.
Right.
It tracked hundreds of people for over 75 years. And the biggest takeaway, the strongest predictor of a long and happy life.
Wow, 75 years. That's a long time.
I know, right?
Well, what was it?
Was the quality of their relationships?
Really?
See, I always figured good health was mostly about diet and exercise.
Yeah, me too.
But to think that strong connections are that crucial, it makes you reevaluate your priorities,
For sure. For sure.
Absolutely. And it's not just about having a partner,
Right.
close friends, family,
Yeah.
even that sense of belonging in your community.
Yeah.
It all contributes to well-being.
I like that. A sense of belonging.
So it's not just about adding years to your life, but adding life to your years.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And Dr. Rojas Estapé takes us a step further with her own equation,
Okay.
where achieving your best version, or TMV, comes from knowledge willpower
Mm-hmm.
and having a life project all amplified by passion.
That's interesting.
Now, there's a part of the book that really struck me.
Go on.
The idea that love in all its forms can be a powerful antidote to suffering.
Okay.
Not just romantic love, but love for others,
Mm-hmm.
for ideals,
Yeah.
even love for memories.
Interesting.
To be honest, I was a bit skeptical at first.
Yeah, I can see why it sounds a bit fluffy.
Right.
But the science behind it is fascinating.
Really?
The book cites research showing that simply remembering positive experiences can trigger the same feel-good brain chemistry as the original event.
Oh, wow. So if I'm feeling down, instead of reaching for a pint of ice cream, I should be reminiscing about that awesome vacation I took last year.
Well, it's not quite that simple,
Right.
but you're getting the idea.
Okay.
Our brains are incredibly powerful, and harnessing that power is a big part of Dr. Rojas Estapé's approach.
That makes sense.
It's about recognizing that we have more control over our happiness than we might realize.
Okay, so we've got relationships and the power of love in the mix.
Right.
What else contributes to this happiness equation?
Well, we can't talk about well-being without addressing cortisol, that infamous stress hormone.
Oh, yeah, cortisol, the double-edged sword.
Exactly. It's essential for survival.
Right.
But when we're chronically stressed, our cortisol levels stay elevated, which can have a cascade of negative effects on our health.
So we need it, but too much of it is bad news.
Exactly.
What exactly triggers this chronic cortisol overload?
Here's the kicker.
Oh,
Our
God.
brains don't always distinguish between real and imagined threats. So constantly worrying about deadlines, relationships, or that awkward thing you said at a party can be just as damaging as facing a physical threat.
Hold on. You're saying that my tendency to overthink things is actually messing with my body chemistry.
Precisely.
Oh, wow.
And those imagined threats are often rooted in some very specific modern-day culprits.
Okay, like what?
Dr. Rojas Estapé calls out a few big ones.
Okay.
The fear of losing control, perfectionism, and something she terms chronopathia, which is basically an obsession with time.
Chronopathia, that sounds intense. Can you break that down a bit more? What does that actually look like in everyday life?
Think of it as the feeling of constantly being on, never truly relaxing, or being present in the moment. You're always rushing, checking your phone, worrying about the next thing on your to-do list.
Oof, yeah, that hits a little too close to home.
Right.
So how do we even begin to tackle these deeply ingrained patterns?
Well, Dr. Rojas Estapé isn't just about diagnosing the problem. She's all about providing solutions.
I like that.
And that's where some of her most fascinating insights come in.
Okay, I'm all ears. Lay some of that wisdom on me.
One of the most powerful anecdotes in the book involves her experience with Cambodian sex workers.
Really?
She describes how something as simple as sharing sugus candy with them opened up a space for connection and healing.
Wow. I wouldn't have expected that. It seems
Ew.
like such a small gesture. But I guess it's about recognizing their humanity, offering a little bit of sweetness in a really tough situation.
Exactly. It speaks to the incredible power of even the smallest acts of love and kindness.
Right.
And remember, this isn't just about helping others, it's about enriching our own lives as well.
So building meaningful relationships, embracing the power of love, and managing our stress levels.
Yes.
Sounds like we're starting to piece together this happiness puzzle.
We are.
What's the next piece we need to examine?
Now that we've laid the groundwork, let's dive into some of Dr. Rojas Estepe's specific strategies for lowering cortisol and cultivating a happier, more resilient life.
Sounds like a plan. This is where it gets really interesting for me. Those actionable steps we can take to actually make a difference. I'm ready to get tactical.
Let's do it. All right, so let's get tactical. Dr. Rojas Estepe doesn't just tell us what to do. She explains why these strategies work, drawing on fascinating research about the brain and body.
And she kicks things off with a classic
Though, yeah.
exercise, but she goes beyond the usual endorphins make you happy spiel.
Right. She specifically highlights green exercise.
Pre-exercise.
Yeah, which is basically just being active in nature.
Okay.
Studies show that even a short walk in the park can significantly lower cortisol levels and boost mood.
So it's not just about pounding the pavement at the gym, but getting out into the fresh air, maybe even taking a hike in the woods. I can definitely get on board with that.
Exactly. And think about it. How often do you feel stressed when you're surrounded by nature? There's a reason we find it calming. It taps into something primal, something deeply restorative.
It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Yeah.
Okay, green exercise check. What else does Dr. Rojas Estepe have in her toolkit?
She devotes a whole section to dealing with toxic people.
Oh boy.
And she gets real about it, offering practical advice for setting boundaries.
Okay.
She even talks about how to manage those unavoidable toxic relationships like a coworker you can't escape.
Oh, this is something I struggle with.
Yeah.
I'm a total people pleaser, and it's hard for me to say no even when I know someone is draining my energy. What kind of boundaries does she suggest?
He recommends being discreet with personal information, learning to ignore their opinions, and physically distancing yourself whenever possible.
Okay.
And if you absolutely can't avoid them, she suggests strategic coexistence and even forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Sounds tough, especially when someone's really hurt you.
It's not about condoning their behavior,
Yeah.
but releasing yourself from the resentment that's eating you up inside. It's about prioritizing your own inner peace.
Okay, that's a powerful perspective shift. Exercise boundaries with toxic people? What about the power of positive thinking? Is that just a bunch of fluffy self-help stuff, or is there real science behind it?
Well, she calls it cognitive reframing, and it's all about shifting your perspective to focus on the good even when things are tough. It's not about denying reality, but choosing to highlight the positive aspects of a situation.
I'll admit, I'm a bit of a cynic. I tend to focus on what could go wrong, not what could go right.
And there's research to show that this kind of negativity bias can actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Really?
It can lead to stress, anxiety, even depression.
So if I keep telling myself I'm going to fail, I'm actually increasing my chances of failure. That's a pretty sobering thought.
It's not about denying our negative emotions,
Okay.
but acknowledging them and then consciously choosing to shift our focus. And there are tools to help us do this, like mindfulness and meditation.
I've tried meditation before, but I always feel like I'm doing it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
My mind just won't shut up.
That's the most common experience, honestly. It's called a practice for a reason. The key is to notice those thoughts without judgment, just letting them pass by like clouds in the sky. Even a few minutes a day can make a difference.
Okay. I'm willing to give it another try.
Yeah.
I'm sensing a theme here. It's not about huge sweeping changes, but small, consistent actions.
You're picking up on Dr. Rojas Estepe's approach perfectly. She also talks about omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
She even shares her own experience with taking them and points to research suggesting they can improve brain health, mood regulation, and even protect those telomeres that keep our DNA healthy.
Right. So omega-3s could help slow down aging. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I'm adding fish oil to my shopping list right now.
Uh.
What else should I be stocking up on?
Well, before you hit the supplement aisle, remember that Dr. Rojas Estepe emphasizes that true well-being isn't about quick fixes. It's about making sustainable lifestyle changes. And one of the most fundamental changes involves sleep.
Okay, but who doesn't know they need more sleep? I feel like that's the most common piece of health advice out there.
Right, but she goes beyond the basics.
Okay.
She talks about the importance of sleep quality, not just quantity. She even gets into the science of sleep cycles and how disruptions can affect everything from our mood to our metabolism.
So it's not just about getting 8 hours, but making sure those 8 hours are actually restorative. I
Right.
guess that late night Netflix binge isn't doing me any favors.
Exactly. It's about creating a consistent sleep routine, setting the stage for restful sleep, and minimizing those things that disrupt our natural sleep cycles.
So we've got exercise, especially in nature, setting boundaries, the power of reframing our thoughts, mindfulness, omega-3s, and quality sleep. It sounds like we're building a pretty solid foundation for well-being here. But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't explored yet, that life project piece of Dr. Rojas Estepe's happiness equation. What exactly does that entail?
That's where we move beyond managing stress and into the realm of purpose and meaning. It's about aligning our actions with our deepest values and passions.
That sounds intriguing, but also a bit daunting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I have a clear sense of my life's purpose. Where do we even begin to uncover that?
Well, that's what the next part of our deep dive will uncover. We'll explore Dr. Rojas Estepe's insights on discovering your best self and crafting a life that feels truly fulfilling.
Okay, I'm ready to embark on that journey. Let's dive in. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, from the power of relationships to the importance of managing stress.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
Now let's tackle that final piece of Dr. Rojas Estepe's happiness equation.
All right.
This whole idea of your best version.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit like a self-help cliche, but I'm genuinely curious to hear how she approaches this.
It's actually where the book gets really interesting, in my opinion.
Okay.
Remember that equation. TMV,
Mm-hmm.
your best version equals knowledge plus willpower plus a life project,
Uh-huh.
all multiplied by passion.
Right, and we've talked about knowledge and how understanding our minds and bodies can empower us.
Yeah.
But willpower, is that something we can actually strengthen, or are we just stuck with whatever level we're born with?
Dr. Rojas Estepe makes a compelling case for willpower as a muscle.
Okay.
The more we use it, the stronger it becomes.
So like actually exercising willpower.
Exactly. And one of the key ways we exercise willpower is by delaying gratification.
So if I resist the urge to check social media every 5 minutes, I'm basically doing a willpower bicep curl.
Exactly. Every time we choose a healthier habit over a tempting but less beneficial one, we're strengthening that willpower muscle. It's like building resilience on a mental and emotional level.
Okay, so knowledge and willpower, check and check.
Mhm.
But what about that life project piece of the equation? It sounds a bit vague. What does that actually look like?
This is where Dr. Rojas Estepe encourages us to get introspective.
Okay.
It's about identifying our core values,
Mhm.
those things that truly matter to us, and then crafting a life that aligns with those values.
So it's not just about setting goals,
Yeah.
but making sure those goals reflect what we genuinely care about. It's about living with intention.
Precisely. And she argues that having a clear sense of purpose can make us more resilient in the face of challenges. When we know what we're working towards, it's easier to weather the storms.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When you have that North Star guiding you, you're less likely to get blown off course.
Right.
And this is where passion comes in.
Yeah.
Dr. Rojas Estepe sees passion as the fuel that powers our willpower, gives us the energy to pursue our goals, and ultimately allows us to become our best selves.
It all ties together.
She's mentioned passion throughout the book, and I'm starting to see how it ties everything together.
Yeah.
But what if someone isn't sure what they're passionate about? How do you even begin to uncover that?
That's a great question, and it's a journey of self-discovery. Dr. Rojas Estepe suggests paying attention to those things that light us up, those activities that make time fly by.
Okay.
It could be a hobby, a cause, a certain type of work, or even a way of interacting with the world.
So it's about noticing those moments when we're fully engaged, when we lose ourselves in something we enjoy.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that passion doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be found in the simple joys of everyday life.
Like what?
Spending time with loved ones, creating something beautiful, or simply appreciating the world around us.
That's a really refreshing perspective.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off to find some grand, all-consuming passion and allows us to appreciate the smaller, more subtle passions that already exist in our lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And remember, passion can evolve and change over time.
Yeah.
It's not a fixed destination, but a journey of exploration and growth.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored all the elements of Dr. Rojas Estepe's happiness equation: knowledge, willpower, a life project, and passion. What's the ultimate takeaway? What does she want us to do with all of this?
She wants us to take action, to start making small, intentional choices that align with our values, nurture our well-being, and ultimately lead us towards becoming our best versions.
It's a call to action, an invitation to create a life that feels both meaningful and fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can choose how we respond. how we care for ourselves, and how we shape our own happiness.
I love that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into how to make good things happen, what's one final thought-provoking question we can leave our listener with?
Now that you've gained these insights, what one small change will you make today to invite more good things into your life?
That's a great question to ponder. And if you're ready to dive even deeper, we highly recommend checking out the full book. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Likewise, thanks for listening, everyone.